I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. Raising awareness ahead of next week's March for Life.
Life is important, and that we as Catholics celebrate life in all its many dimensions.
We'll take you to the place where it all began for a future saint. And forgiveness is taken to another level in a powerful play.
And acting on fear leads to certain consequences, and acting through love leads to another one.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Tens of thousands of pro-life advocates are expected to descend on Washington this weekend ahead of this year's March for Life, which happens on Monday. This year, the march takes place 2 days after the anniversary of the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision, which legalized abortion across the U.S. And of course, for many pro-life advocates, it's never too early to get the word out. This weekend here in Brooklyn, the Knights of Columbus took a page out of Lance Armstrong's book.
Well, it was an idea that we had in our council. We always talk about stuff, so we said, you know what, let's walk about it now. On the 24th, we have our big rally in Washington, so it'd be nice to start it off like on the 16th of January and start giving out wristbands. We got together with several other councils, Christopher Council, Cardinal Stritch Council, and the St. Bernard Council. So we ganged up together, got 9,000 wristbands, and hopefully we'll be giving them out, if not today, by the end of next week.
The Knights of Columbus have done a lot of different things, and they've allowed things to be a part of our life. They've included the words "One Nation Under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance. They've shown us that to keep Christ in Christmas is an important thing, and I think this life sign on this bracelet is going to be an opportunity once more to make the message known, but to let people know throughout the community that we are for life, that life is important, and that we as Catholics celebrate life in all its many dimensions.
They talk about abortion, and they said there's 87,000 abortions, 2009 in New York City alone. So what a coincidence that they're talking about all these abortions, and here we are giving out wristbands to support life. You know, if this saved one life, I think we did a good job. You know, if this put some idea in somebody's brain that maybe life is good, which I always like to preach, that life is good, I think we did a good job.
It's important for us to realize that sometimes we preach to the choir, sometimes we're going to give these wristbands to the choir, but I think it's also important. We live in a world today where signs are important, logos are important, and that's what people pick up on. You go anywhere today and people, all their clothes have names on it. And for the company, it's free advertisement. So this is free advertisement for us to let people know that life is important. So sometimes something as small as a wristband might be more than just a t-shirt. And besides, it's January, no one will see the t-shirts.
It's been amazing. I've been in contact with my other brother knights at the other churches, and they've been received very well. And that makes us really happy. So our message is going out, that life is good.
The Knights of Columbus do have a limited number of those wristbands still available. They actually sent us some here at the station. There you go. Well, and you can find out, though, how you can get yours over on our blog. Go to currentsny.net, click on Riding the Wave. We posted some more information there about how you can get yours. They're free, by the way, so check it out, all right? Stay tuned. There's much more Currents coming up just ahead. When we do come back, looking ahead to other goings-on in Washington next week, including the State of the Union address. We'll have that and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in a bit, a play offers a challenging lesson in love and forgiveness. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Christian persecution, this time from the Congo, where a nun has been killed. Witnesses say she was shot dead Saturday by Ugandan rebels in the northeastern part of that country. The nun was the former head of a congregation and most recently worked as a nurse. Turning now to Brazil, where authorities are investigating the death of a U.S. Jesuit priest. The nude body of 72-year-old Father Ferdinand Azevedo was discovered in a room at a retreat house on Monday, with his hands bound and a metal chain around his neck. Azevedo worked as a professor at a university in Brazil. Well, back here in this country, family and friends are mourning the death of Sergeant Shriver. Shriver died on Tuesday after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. He was Catholic and he attended Mass daily. He may be best remembered as the first director of the Peace Corps. He was also George McGovern's running mate in the 1972 presidential election and an ardent and outspoken opponent of abortion. Shriver was an in-law of the Kennedys. He was married to Kennedy's sister Eunice, who died less than a year and a half ago. Sergeant Shriver was 95 years old. From the Vatican now, come together. That was on Pope Benedict's mind today during his weekly general audience. We get more from Rome Reports.
During the General Audience Catechesis, Benedict XVI encouraged prayer for the unity of the Church based on the example of the first Christians. In celebration of the Week of Prayer for Christian Unity, the Pope invited the imitation of the four basic elements that characterize the first Christian communities to build the unity of the Church.
They devoted themselves to the Apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers, invites us to reflect on four pillars of unity found in the life of the early Church.
According to the Pope, the four pillars are made up of the fidelity to the Gospel, the unity of believers, the Eucharist, and prayer, which today's Christians must rely on to seek the unity of the Church.
During this week, let us pray that all Christians will grow in fidelity to the Gospel, in fraternal unity, and in missionary zeal, in order to draw all men and women into the saving unity of Christ's Church.
Among the crowd of 2,500 people who attended the audience, many came from Italy, Switzerland, Australia, Canada, and the United States, as well as the solemn choir of the Lutheran Church from Finland.
From Washington, President Obama's State of the Union address is still 6 days away now, but at least one group is already letting him know what they would like to hear. The National Council of Churches has written an open letter to Obama urging him to use the address to reassert his pledge to cut poverty in half. In the letter, the council writes that Americans living in poverty have only one advocate, the President of the United States. And Archbishop Timothy Dolan is laying out the legislative priorities of U.S. bishops in a letter of his own to Congress. Dolan writes that he hopes Congress will defend the life and dignity of all. The letter also renews the bishop's opposition to public funding for abortion and support for pregnant women. And finally, less than a week after 3 former Anglican bishops were ordained as Catholic priests, we take you inside the place where another prominent former Anglican was ordained. We get the story from Rome Reports.
Cardinal John Henry Newman was ordained as a priest in 1847 in this chapel dedicated to the 3 wise men. The chapel was part of the Vatican congregation responsible for missionaries around the world. Now, thanks to the opening of the museum by the Congregation of the Propagation of the Faith, in one visit you can see all the places which had a profound effect on this blessed. The Chapel of the 3 Kings was designed by Bernini in 1643. At the behest of Cardinal Antonio Barberini. However, during the construction, the work was taken over by another great artist of the time, Borromini. At first, he had planned on expanding the chapel, but eventually he chose to demolish it before Bernini's own eyes. In the same building of the congregation and within walking distance of the chapel, a smaller and more intimate chapel was built, where Cardinal Newman celebrated Mass for the first time in his life.
La Cappella Newman è una cappella.
The Newman Chapel is a small chapel, very private, located in the part of the building made by Borromini. It's elaborately decorated in full Baroque style, a true masterpiece dedicated to Newman and his time here. He was ordained in the Chapel of the 3 Kings and celebrated his first Mass in the little chapel.
John Henry Newman was beatified by Pope Benedict XVI last September during his trip to the UK. He came from an Anglican family, and in 1824 he was appointed deacon of the Anglican Church. But after studying the origins of Christianity in depth, he decided to move to the Catholic Church.
Stay tuned, there's more Currents coming up. Just ahead, you may see this man in a state near you. He's running from California to New York, and you may be surprised why. Welcome back. Well, there is an old saying that life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And someone who understands that very much is Jeff Grabowski. Tomorrow he'll be beginning an extraordinary marathon of his own, 3,700 miles from California to Long Island, where he hopes to arrive in May. Why is he doing it? Well, joining us now by phone is Jeff Grabowski to tell us all about it. Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Great, sir. Great. Thanks for joining us the day before you kind of hit the road here. And I'll pose that first question to you that I just kind of posed in general. Why are you doing it?
Well, there's actually two main reasons. One, it started as an athletic pursuit. I had done a number of marathons and a couple 100-mile races, so it seemed like the next awesome challenge. But the main reason and the real reason I'm doing it is that I want to encourage prayer. Prayer has helped me find direction and ultimately peace in life when things are difficult. And this run is my way of using the talents God gave me to hopefully bring that same peace to others.
Well, and it's something that you know very well, of trying to make it through difficult times, and making it through difficult times with the power of your faith and the power of prayer. Tell our viewers a little bit about the life situation. Your life's taken a lot of twists and turns over the past few years.
Yeah, we definitely had a couple of tough stretches. My mother passed away from cancer back in 2006, and within a week after that, my wife walked out on me, and I was left with all my possessions and living out of my car for a couple months. So it was definitely a tough time, but through the power of prayer and just trusting in Him that He would get me through, I was able to make it through much stronger than I would have ever had imagined. And I want to basically pass on the great gifts that He's given me to others. And like I said, prayer had a large role in that process, and I'm actually taking prayer requests.
Sure.
And for each request I get, I will be saying a decade of the rosary for that intention while I run. So it's also kind of more of a prayer across America.
There you go. Yeah, running in prayer across America. Tell me a little bit about your past as well, because this is an interesting thing. I mean, running across the country. Kind of, when did you start running? Did you start running at an early age?
Yeah, I started running very young. My mom used to bring me and my siblings to the track with her in the mornings, so we would go run around the track a little bit. But I eventually got into it a little bit more and ran throughout high school and a little bit in college, although not too competitively. And just these past few years, I've really gotten back into it with doing those long-distance races. It's to me, it's really amazing how much life and running mirror each other. Through getting through, like I said, difficult times in life, it's given me confidence to get through those difficult times in races, and vice versa. They really complement each other very well.
Well, you're starting out, of course, in California, in Oceanside, California, tomorrow. You're going to be here in New York in May. Now, we're here in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Where in Brooklyn will you be running?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be going right through New York City, and we'll be crossing the Brooklyn Bridge onto Atlantic Avenue and running east until right around Van Wyck and taking that south, and we'll be staying in Rockville Center. So I highly encourage anybody who wants to come out and meet me or run or walk with me for a little bit. Definitely let me know. You can contact me through my website at jeffrunsamerica.com, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you, and I'm sure can really use the company after 3,700 miles on my own.
There you go. I can imagine. Yeah, through the, I guess what we usually, refer to as flyover territory. It's run-through territory for you coming up here pretty soon. But now I understand one last thing here. You're originally kind of from the area, right? You're a New Jersey native?
That's correct. Yes, I'm from New Jersey, and I have close ties to New York. One of my college roommates actually owns a running store out in Sayville, so that's where I'll be finishing right there.
Okay, awesome.
It's going to be a good time when I finally get there.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, we look forward to seeing you here coming up in May. Hopefully we'll get to catch up with you then. And all our best and our prayers go with you as you pray across America. Jeff Grabowski, thanks so much for being here with us on Currents. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Matt. God bless.
God bless you. And stay where you are. There's much more Currents coming up. When we return, these tidings are not glad, but they do send a powerful message.
Tell me, Violin, which is worse, leprosy of the soul or of the body?
Last night, we took you to the New York Encounter, organized by Communion and Liberation, to hear some provocative thoughts on the intersection of science and faith. Well, tonight, we take you there for something altogether different, a glimpse at a powerful play whose subject is love, self-sacrifice, and forgiveness.
Communion Liberation is a Ecclesial movement that was founded by Monsignor Luigi Giussani in Italy in about 1954. We ourselves have our convention, you might say, of our national leaders in New York, and it's grown into something that we call the New York Encounter. And as part of our charism, we have cultural events, talks, speeches, plays, musical events. We're having a performance tonight of Paul Claudel's The Tidings Brought to Mary.
Claudel is recognized as not just a great writer, but a great Catholic writer, and who explores Catholic themes in his work.
He wasn't a professional playwright in the sense that, I mean, he was a world-famous diplomat, and he wrote these plays, you know, in his spare time. I mean, he's kind of writing plays that he would want to see himself, and he was a very, very smart and intelligent man. He's a guy who's really trying to tell the truth.
How one's life can be transformed when one kind of surrenders their life or their will to God. Violin says yes to this really difficult choice that is posed to her, and as a consequence leads a life of suffering, but it's a life that also heals many other lives.
At the very beginning of the play, Violin, who is a peasant girl in France around the time of Joan of Arc, has an encounter with this famous cathedral builder, who is a very pious man, but a year before tried to rape and then tried to kill her when the rape was unsuccessful. And it's a year later, when they meet, he has contracted leprosy. He believes because he tried to hurt this pure and holy girl.
Aren't you afraid and horrified of the leper?
God is here, and I'm in his keeping.
And she forgives him entirely, but he is still so filled with self-loathing, first because of what he had tried to do a year ago, and now that he has the leprosy.
Suffer with our Lord, but know that your bad action is forgiven as far as I'm concerned. I am at peace with you.
And then at the very end of the scene, feeling so much pity for him, she kisses him. Not in any like romantic way, but in a way of saying, I still care about you, you're still a beautiful human being. And so we learn as the play moves on that she has contracted the leprosy.
It's the disease, Violin?
Yes, Jacques.
Leprosy?
It's about the people who encounter her and how do we treat love.
Tell me, Violin, which is worse, leprosy of the soul or of the body?
I think it's a really beautiful and meaningful play because in it, you really have every different type of person. You have Violin, who is very saintly, and then Mara, who actually her name means bitter, and it perfectly resembles who she is. And her husband, who loves her but seems to fail in his love for her because he wants to possess her, and when she's not what he expects, he immediately, leaves her.
One would hope that one would live their life in a loving way and not in a way based on fear, because really all evil actions pretty much essentially come from fear. And acting on fear leads to certain consequences, and acting through love leads to another one.
Very important message there. Well, that is it for tonight. Remember, we're always online over at currentsny.net. You can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Until next time, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night.